Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Welcome as I see you all joining. We wanted to welcome you to our Mind the Moments Tuesday morning gathering brought to you by Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare. This is a place where we invite experienced mindfulness instructors to speak with us about what mindfulness means to them and to discuss as a community how we can incorporate these practices into our daily lives. I'm Suzanne Rowe Palacino, and I am delighted to be here this morning with Mary Starr Green, mindfulness instructor with Harvard Pilgrim and also a longtime meditation practitioner. Good morning, Mary.
Good morning, Suzanne. Good morning, everybody.
Nice to have everyone here this morning. Nice to have you here with us this morning, Mary. So today we'll start off with a question for the group. And Mary will lead us in a guided practice, share some thoughts with us. And after that, we'll have time for questions and comments and just general processing of what we've spoken about. And then I'd also like to guide you to our chat at the bottom of the screen, where you can open up the chat and see the comments coming in as they come in. If you'd like to see all of the comments, just click down the drop-down menu that says panelists, and you can choose panelists and attendees and see everybody commenting as it comes in. So that is about it for our business, and let's move into our discussion and practice. So Mary, what kind of question do we have this morning?
Well, my question is one that I like to ask a lot because it can always be fresh. The response can be fresh and different each time. But the question is this: one word, maybe two words. One word to describe how you're feeling right now. You know, whether it's more predominantly physical, or more, mental or emotional. So it could be one word, or it could be a couple of words if you're sensing a little bit of two things.
Okay, just type right into the chat and let us know how that sits with you. Someone says tired. I've had some allergy issues, so I'm feeling a little bit congested, a little off my game, but hoping that will improve. Someone says okay and open. Anticipatory.
Nice.
How about you, Mary?
I'm feeling excited, as more of a felt sense in my body. I think just doing this, and also a little tired, a little sluggish in my mind. So there we go. That I can relate to the tired. Optimistic, yeah.
All right.
I just love seeing the range because that's really what it's about. And tumultuous, optimistic, tumultuous, yeah. So, thank you. And that is kind of the point. We can, all kinds in their words, really, just really to describe what the moment, what we're experiencing right now, because it all points to awareness. It doesn't have to just be one thing.
Weather does not help our mood. In the Boston area, we've had a lot of rain. And I guess, it's hard to see that when the West Coast could really use it, but, it's not our typical summer, so it's been a little challenging.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess we'll move on to the practice then.
Well, I think the rain, Suzanne, that was a really wonderful segue, because really what's been on my mind is related to the rain. And I happened to have been on vacation last week, and my husband and I had planned and much long awaited some hiking. Regardless of how you feel about hiking, we were looking forward to multiple days of hiking and in a new area, and choosing hikes where we get these wonderful views. And there wasn't a lot of that happening. I'll just put it that way. And so for me, without going into all kinds of story about the weather, what I was really noticing related to practice was, you know, there was some expectation of, a clear view or something like that, when reality is, the weather is the weather. And so I just bring this back because for me, it just comes back to acceptance. And, it's resisting the way things are is the kind of pain I was putting on myself. But, you know, the weather's going to do what the weather does, and it does move on. And we did have one clear summit day, but there were also days where we were pouring rain out of our boots, and that really wasn't part of my original plan.
I'm impressed that you went, though. So it wasn't like the rain really totally stopped you. You went in the rain.
And and that's true. It was our choice, and we'll kind of work this in a little bit, but really just keeping it all in perspective it was still beautiful. The waterfalls were amazing, of course, because we've had so much rain. So it was really an opportunity to kind of snap into, who says it's going to be sunny every day, that I happen to have vacation, and just go, well, what else is happening here? What else can I tune into for my senses? And to still honor the fact there was some disappointment there, really. So, working with all of that. And yeah, I've just noticed it's a really, really good way to practice releasing control.
Mm.
Yeah. Or the illusion of control.
Right.
So I would love to share some practice. We're ready to go.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good.
Okay, good. So we're going to start where we are, right? That's all we can do. You could sit or stand. And just getting comfortable. This is going to be mainly some quiet. But you just allow the eyes to soften the gaze, or close the eyes. And it's just as a beginner point here, what are you already aware of? So we can take in through the senses, through our awareness, all the points of our experience. And simply relax into whatever's there. in these few minutes that we have remaining, if your practice is really strong and momentum on that, you can just let my words, wash over, continue on. But you may wish to kind of work with this now is just to continue to stay open to what you're aware of in the moment, whether it be sound or body sensation or thoughts. Knowing as a continuum, the nature of things is fluid. It changes. It's transitory. And so perhaps just sitting back, if you will, just resting and allowing for this as we kind of maintain a steady sense within our practice. So a steadiness that is also open and curious about all that we're experiencing. Continue with a steady curiosity, kindness, and this sense of presence, open to what is happening here and now. As we're preparing to end this formal practice of meditation, you may wish to drop your awareness more firmly within the body, having a sense of your body here in the space that you're in, connection of our virtual community. And when you're ready, if your eyes are closed, you can just slowly open them, kind of looking around, getting into the visual realm again, and reconnecting with what's here and now.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mary.
Yeah, so my pleasure. I was I was aware as we were talking earlier, and even through the practice, that for me that there's a tension, if you will, between having some goals and being directed about things in achievement in any form, whether it's hiking or whatever, and then just really knowing that we and I do not have control ultimately over what happens next. It is not totally my call. And I find that very, very, a very, very strong thing to practice with. Yeah. And it's a question maybe we can all hold, because it does bring in those two things, having to have some sense of intentionality, but then knowing that, we're pushing life around isn't what this practice is about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And someone made a comment, which I think is a wonderful one. But we can control how we react. We can react to what happens in life, or to how situations come up.
Exactly, and that thank you is fruit, I think, of the practice, really. I mean, we practice with these, little inconveniences, to work with how we can react to all the other things that might be a little bit more complicated as we're heading on through the rest of the day and into our lives and into our years, into our life.
Yeah, no, I think it's a wonderful point. You think about the different things that folks go through in life, be it um, the loss of a job or a health issue or something, that relationship problem that may come up. Um, how we resist and how we try to kind of control some of those things, but realize that we many times we can't. That resistance and that power that we feel like we have brings us many times just brings us more suffering. Um, so and it's a balance, if there's a health issue that comes up with your family and you let's say it comes up with an elder part of your family and maybe you should question and get another opinion or so it's not just blind acceptance or blind just taking everything as it comes, but it's a balance.
Right, and whether we use the word acceptance or surrendering or it's really allowing for what the reality of the situation is. So acceptance doesn't necessarily mean, just as you said, rolling over, but it is a continual check of our awareness into what we're experiencing, which could be skepticism, doubt, needing more information, disappointment that the rain is crashing down on your head. That is the experience, one, not only of the rain, but my own response to it. And then making choices, either honoring and giving space to the feelings that we have, which is always part of the practice. Just honoring whatever's there, give it some room and let it move through. Mm-hmm. As part of as again, as someone had said, choosing how we react. And that's the control that we have over how we're living our lives in all the situations that come up inevitably.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. And think about some of the racial reckoning that's been going on over the last year or so, and that's not something that people would choose to accept, but it might. Some of these circumstances might empower us to take a different turn or to take different action, where we wouldn't just be, surrendering to it, but we would be empowered by something.
Absolutely, absolutely. There are, yes, and that's exactly how we're engaging in the world. But again, choosing our response in the face of that is, again, where practice does come in. But yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I know at one point I had a discussion on one of these sessions about in our practice. Sometimes if, we might sit down and like, I'm going to really have a great meditation. And I know this is, I'm really going to be in the moment. And sometimes that striving can also be counterproductive.
Yes, and for those of us that live that live there, sometimes getting out of the forest to see to see the trees, if that's having the awareness that that's even happening, I think is huge. And so I would say that whether you're sitting down to meditate or just going on through your day, any moment that can where we can just reflect and go, how's my body, what's going on in my mind, and how am I responding to that? I mean, is a It may sound simple, but it's not easy. And I think it's key, just as with all things that we do with mindfulness, is catching onto that thread of awareness. That, wow, I'm trying to push through this, and I'm judging the quality of my formal meditation. I'm thinking this is not, I'm shifting and controlling. I'm needing to shift, control, and, push this into a box. I'm using my words because that's, for me, that's how it feels, but it does embody as kind of a closing down that, for me, is all the kind of resistance that you said of not accepting the
Mhm.
moment.
Yeah.
So
There's a great comment here, like being in quicksand. The more you resist, the more it takes control.
yeah,
Um, that's a very good comparison.
yeah, that is true. And I have found that for myself, and maybe for, folks practicing out there, it's exactly these moments of noticing points of resistance that are there, or just, the uncomfortable sensations, or just noticing the difficult emotions, that to just be aware of that first of all, and seeing coming up against maybe wanting things to be different, having that in these little inconveniences that can happen, really do set us up for a lifetime of really good practice. And perhaps we've said that many times in different ways during this time. But, the rain comes down on your head, or your coffee's not quite right, or something like that, maybe not quite how we want it, but workable.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's the informal practice of life.
Right. Right. So very, very good discussion. And thank you so much for guiding us today in the practice and for bringing up this important topic, which I think all of us can learn from each time we sit and each time we go out into our day is
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. My pleasure, Suzanne. And thank you, everybody, for your really great practice today. And I wish you a really wonderful rest of the day.
Yes, I as well. And we will see you on Thursday, where Tar Healy will be back with us. And we look forward to seeing you then. So we wish everyone a good day and thank you for joining, and we will see you soon.